let's head to South Africa, where Standard & Poor's has retained the country's credit rating at a BBB- with a negative outlook. That is just one level above junk. The country's treasury welcomed the decision, saying it would give government more time to demonstrate the concrete implementation of economic reforms. Now, a cut to below investment grade would have pushed up Pretoria's borrowing costs, making it harder to plug a budget deficit estimated at 3.2% of GDP. Moody's credit rating for South Africa was last set at Baa2 with a negative outlook, while Fitch was last reported at BBB- with a stable outlook.
The hard work that has been put out by the National Treasury has warranted this call. I think an olive branch, so to speak, from Standard & Poor's is welcome, and I think it's been earned. There's been sleepless nights put out by the policymakers, along with business and along with labor. All those efforts are culminating in a seemingly good situation where we bought ourselves another 6 months.
Let's get an update on that with Angelo Coppola. He now joins us in Johannesburg. Angelo, welcome to the show. Now, Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan, he had said this week that the country had done enough to avoid a downgrade, and it seems like he was right. What was Standard & Poor's reasoning behind their decision today?
Well, there were two main issues that they focused on in their report. Firstly, the improved electricity supply or energy supply situation in the country, with Eskom having no power outages for the last 18 months. So that's good news, which means that there's an engine there to drive the economy. And secondly, they cited the finance minister and the government's increased vigor in dealing with that fiscal deficit that we're facing, which means that they're going to be cutting costs. And it's early days yet, but the budget that started from the 1st of April is going to address some of those fiscal deficit issues. So those are the two main issues there. But essentially the country took a collective breath today, because that announcement that happened about an hour ago was really good news. The finance minister did say, or essentially what happened here was that the ratings agency took what the finance minister had to say and has been saying over the last couple of months at face value. There's also a very important issue here, and that's the fact that the country's debt is really in rand terms. They don't have much exposure in terms of foreign currency. So even though the currency has depreciated a lot, the foreign debt hasn't been affected as much. The hawkish view, that negative outlook going forward, is a big problem, and it points to the political environment. And it's also focused on the labor situation in the country and the fact that the country's mining sector's legislation hasn't been finalized yet. So that hawkish look going forward is a major consideration. But as Pravin Gordhan said a little earlier, he says we're entering a political or an election period now, with our municipal elections happening in August. So there's going to be a lot of political noise. But ultimately, it's pretty good news for a country that's struggling with 0.5% growth for this year.
That's right, Angela. I'm sure there's a relief across South Africa. Now, we know the reaction to this news will be quite fast and sharp. What is the expected impact on the rand and, of course, the bond market going forward, this news?
Well, the rand's been strengthening during the course of the day. At one point it was 1.7% stronger than it started, and that was just before the markets closed. When the announcement came out, that currency, the rand currency, strengthened tremendously, and it was at around 3%, which is a huge strengthening based on what was happening. So that's good news. In terms of the bond market, it's a long-term play there. So a lot of the bond players have already priced in some of the projected downturn in the economy already. So we have to wait and see how that plays out. But bottom line is the bond markets are expecting that there might be some bad news towards the end of the year if the finance minister doesn't manage to cut that fiscal deficit by enough.
Well, thank you so much, Angelo, for those insights. Angelo Coppola joining us in Johannesburg.